Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to start off today with a little demonstration so that we can so that we can exercise something that Imam Muhammad told us a long time ago, but I think we need to be reminded of it. All knowledge is not the same. As a matter of fact, some knowledge is useless. So we should value knowledge based upon its utility, what we can get out, what benefit it would be for us. Imam Muhammad even told us, he said, you should not seek knowledge just for the sake of knowledge. In other words, because knowledge obligates you. When you get knowledge, you're obligated, it will cause you to act on it. That's what knowledge does. So, I'm going to demonstrate something to you to show you what I'm talking about. This is a poem that I learned to recite in 1947, just before my 8th birthday, for Children's Day. At church, we used to have Children's Day, we had Easter, and then we had Mother's Day and Children's Day, and finally they added Father's Day. But this was Children's Day, so my mother taught me this poem. I had never seen it written. She taught it while she would be fixing breakfast in the morning. On the second and fourth Sundays, she would cook chicken, biscuits, and gravy and rice, so we wouldn't be hungry at church. Now, because we had our services on second and fourth Sundays. So when she knew we were going to be at home at church all day, so she would fix something. And during that time, she would always teach us something. She was a teacher, but she would always teach us at home also. And so she taught me this poem. There was a tumult in the city, in the quaint old Quaker town, and the streets were wrath with people pacing restless up and down. People gathered at the corners where they whispered, each to each. And the sweat stood on their temples with the earnestness of speech. Who's speaking? What's the news? What of Adams? What of Sherman? Oh, God grant they won't refuse. Make some way there. Let me nearer. I'm stifling. Stifle then. When a nation's life's at hazard, we've no time to think of men. So they beat against the portal, man, woman, maid, and child. And the July sun in heaven on the scene looked down and smiled. The same sun that saw the Spartan shed its patriot blood in vain, now beheld the whole of freedom, all unconquered, rise again. Aloft in that highest steeple sat the bellman, old and gray. He was weary of the tyrants in his old iron scepter's way, so he sat with one hand ready on the clapper of the bell, till his eyes could catch the signal of the happy news to tell. See, oh, see the dense crowd quiver all along the lengthened line, as a boy from out the portal rushes forth to give the sign, with his little arms uplifted and the breezes dazzling through his hair. Hark, with deep clear intonation, breaks his young voice in the air. Ring, he shouted out, ring, Grandpa, ring, oh, ring for liberty. Instantly upon the signal, the bellman lifts his hand, forthwith sending good news, making iron music through the land. How the bonfires and the torches lighted up the night's repose, till from out the flame like phoenix, glory, liberty arose. That old state house bell is silent, hushes now its clamorous tone, but the spirit it awakens still lives ever young. And when ere we greet the sunlight on the 4th of each July, we should never forget the bellman who betwixt the earth and sky ring out our independence, which please God shall never die. Now only in special situations would that be of any value. There's no value to us right here today, but for me it's valuable all the time. Why? Not the context, but the exercise of knowing that Allah has blessed me with a good memory that I remember for 72 years. So I'm then obligated to utilize that Allah has given us. Also, as far as the knowledge is concerned and the value of it, you should always examine what knowledge you are seeking after to see how you're going to use it for self and others. There are three purposes for knowledge: to improve your condition, to improve your companions, those around you, and to improve the environment that we're in. That's what we owe knowledge. We owe knowledge because all of it comes from the creation itself, and we owe to use it back. I'm saying that to you because it seems like sometimes people think that I'm making up stuff. I didn't know this brother was going to be here today, but he brought it to our attention, and someone heard him say it. Raise your hand, Brother Frank. That's one of my students from way back years ago. He said, "No, if I don't know, you didn't know Arabic, did you?" I didn't know when I was teaching them. I didn't know any Arabic. I didn't know. As a matter of fact, we almost swooned one day. All of us were just like, wow. That Yusuf, some news came out, and Minister Yusuf Shah recited the Al-Fatiha over the PA system. You remember that?
Yeah.
Man, we were just in daze to hear somebody recite the Al-Fatiha. But Allah has blessed me, and since He has blessed me, I am not going to make up anything for you. I told you that what we're reviewing today is Ilmul Ishtiqaq, and I'll get back to that subject today. But I'm going to deal with this first. I explained to you what Allah had blessed me to understand, which I didn't know this then either, Frank, that the only sound that there is in any language is vowels. That's the only sound that there is, vowels. Everything else that we have, the other letters we call consonants, they influence the vowels, but the sound is still the vowel coming from or stopping in a consonant position. So here's the evidence here to show you, even in the word vowel. You see the word voice? I'm going to erase the ice. You see the word bow? I'm going to erase the bow. Bow means to throw out, right? Like you have a bowel movement. We grown folks, we know we can talk about things. You have a bow means to throw out, so voice out. That's what a vowel is, voice out. Oh, it's still coming loose? Okay. So in Arabic, Allah blessed me to see all of this because in Arabic it's so plain to see that the vowels are a unique part of the language because most of your words are composed of short vowels and consonant letters. We have long vowels also, but short vowels and consonant letters. And the short vowels go either above or below the consonant letters. We don't have that kind of clear distinction in English. You see? So, excuse me. So it was easy to see. It just stood out. So when I began to see that, Allah blessed me to see that, then I saw it was breaking it down. So I said, I need an Arabic word to say this. I didn't try to make up one. I went to the dictionary and I found the word shaqqaqa. This word right here, shaqqaqa. The word that I really wanted was el-ishtiqaq, which means syllables. That's the word for syllables in Arabic, el-ishtiqaq. So I wanted something to label that process because I was able to see that and come to the conclusion that I had never come to before. I was over 40 years old when Allah blessed me to see this, that everybody's language is in syllables. I don't care how fast you talk, when you slow it down, you're going to see that it's one or more syllables. Your name is one or more syllables. There's no such thing as a word that does not have syllables, and there's no such thing as a word that doesn't have a vowel in it. English accommodates by telling you, well, why can be a vowel too, all right? So it makes sure that the word why and cry will have a vowel in it, all right? So the vowel is essential. All right, so now, when Allah blessed me to find this word using the dictionary, sitting down. I didn't just jump and come at me. Sitting down using the dictionary. Then he showed me, what did I tell you about the dhikr? I told you that making dhikr, talking to the brothers over here, I told them that I found that making dhikr at night when I get ready to go to sleep. I be influenced by the junk in the world too. Not as much as some people, because I don't go where it is, but it come at me too on TV and all this stuff. So all that stuff is in your mind. And it will influence your mind when you get off the throne. When do you get off the throne? When you go to sleep. And that's the reason why. And this brother says it so well. He recites the dua that Imam gave us. Would you recite for us, brother? Because you know it so well. Bless us for our minds return to our bodies.
Oh Allah, we thank you for allowing our soul to return to our bodies and giving us another chance on life.
Right.
To do better today than we did yesterday.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm talking about. Because you weren't there. Allah says to us in the Quran concerning evil coming on the mind. It says when evil assails the mind of the believer, he says, Astaghfirullah. All right? When is it most likely that evil will assail the mind of the believer? When he's not on the throne.
Right.
When he's asleep. Or when you're just sitting back and ain't paying no attention. Oh man, Astaghfirullah. You know, you're not focusing on anything. So, during the night, this past week, now I've been using that term ilmul ishtiqaq for a long time, right? During this past week, in one of those pleasant night dreams, Allah blessed me to realize that and I've just been there all the time. I read the Quran and you have too. There's a surah called Suratul Inshiqaq. Hear this right. It's Suratul Inshiqaq, and it comes from the 84th surah. It comes from the same word. Shaqqa, meaning to breaking it down into pieces. Now you can look at that in the Quran itself, okay? So, when we utilize knowledge properly, then we benefit, and so does everything that we have that comes in contact with us. So that line at the top of the board, up to here, this says ilmul ishtiqaq. Ilmul ishtiqaq. Il comes from the word alima, which means to know. Alima means to know. This word comes from this word, means to know. And ishtiqaq comes from the word shaqqaqa. And shaqqaqa means to break down into little bitty pieces. And that's what we're doing. So what you have in your hand today that we passed out is a sheet where we have, with Allah's help, we have broken it down into the syllables so that you can see that the Al-Fatiha, we spend a lot of time on the Al-Fatiha because it is the opening. That's what opens it, and inshallah it will open up our minds. Including the title of the surah, Al-Fatiha, and the ta'uz that we are required to say whenever we're going to read or recite the Quran. We're required to say what? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And then Bismillah all the way to Ameen. In the first, in the Al-Fatiha itself, I'm letting you explain it to you, what you have in your hands. In the Al-Fatiha, the word Al-Fatiha, there are 4 syllables. Al-Fatiha. I also have them in different colors. Black, red, all right? Let me try to make it easier for you to see. The second line is the ta'uz. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. How many syllables in the second line? 13. I just want to make sure that you follow 13. And then there are 9 syllables in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And then there are 11 syllables in Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. 6 syllables in Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. 6 syllables in Maliki Yawmid Deen. 13 syllables in Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. 9 syllables in Ihdina siratal mustaqim. And then in the last ayat, which is 3 lines in it here. And that is 24, in case your 2 is looking too bad. It's 24 syllables in the last line. So in the Al-Fatiha altogether, there are 78 syllables in the Al-Fatiha. There are 13 syllables in the Ta'uz, and there is 2 syllables in Ami, 2 syllables in Ami. I missed something.
4.
4 syllables.
Okay, yes. Okay, 4, and then if you have 4 syllables in, I was trying to see what is that in, 4 syllables in Al-Fatiha, in the surah title, Al-Fatiha, okay. And then there are 2 syllables in Ami. So if you put them all together, we have 97 syllables in that exercise, which all of us are required to do. That's this exercise. We're required to say the Al-Fatiha in every one, not required to say the Ta'uz but once in the prayer. But each prayer we're required to say the Al-Fatiha in each rak'ah. Okay? Excuse me. So I prepared this to demonstrate what we have in the Al-Fatiha, and if you can break it down into the smallest parts, then that's how Allah, this surah that's called Suratul Inshiqaq, is all about breaking it down when things break down at the judgment. This is the surah where it talks about when you receive your book in your right hand and receive the book in your left hand. That's the surah, in case I know you remember the subject matter, but you may not remember which surah it's in. That's what's going to happen, is that everything's going to be broken down so fine until you're not going to miss it. This is what we're trying to do with the Al-Fatiha here. We're trying to make sure we don't miss it. Because it is the opening, not just of the Al-Fatiha, but the opening of our hearts and minds to open us up to a better life. And that's what we should be striving for, a better life. And knowledge is what will lead us to the better life. If you don't have knowledge, you're not going to improve. It takes knowledge to improve from one stage to the next. All right? You can't just improve with no knowledge. Every advancement that we make is a matter of knowledge implementation. Implementing knowledge into our lives. All right? Any questions or comments? Nobody have anything to say?
You got through.
I've heard presenters say, well, I must have made it plain. Yeah. Mr. Shaw used to say that, didn't he? He used to say, I must have made it plain. Nobody had any questions? Yeah.
Could you expound a little more on breaking it down in little pieces?
Okay, I got you. We are taking what Allah is saying that's going to happen as far as the judgment is concerned. You want to read that? And when you read that 84th chapter, I got you. When you read that 84th chapter, you should be aware also that there is a place in there where you are supposed to make sajda. It's the 21st verse. 21st verse, the 84th chapter, 21st verse. When you finish reading that ayat, you should stop, make sajda, and then continue. All right? Now, Allah tells us all about the judgment and what the believers will do and what the non-believers will do during the time before as the judgment comes. And eventually, as a result of everything, he talks about the sun. It starts off with the sun being, I was trying to think of how to translate it, but broken down into little pieces. Rent asunder. That's how they translate it. You see that language, that rent asunder doesn't help us much, does it?
No, sir.
Because we don't use that terminology. But I mean, broken up into little bitty pieces. All right? Let me see. I got it here. If I can get to it right quick. So that process is when, that's how you're going to come to know things. So if Allah is telling us that in order to understand all about the judgment, because I had someone call me yesterday, and was talking about the judgment. When you get more knowledge, that means you're going to better understand who we were yesterday. No, when you get more knowledge, that's going to make you better today, yesterday and today than you were. All right. That's what. So it's not about trying to find out who you used to be. It's trying to find out how much better you can be. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about. Well, I must have been a queen. All that's beautiful for emotional talk. But when you get down to the individual activity, you don't have no royal authority now. As a matter of fact, you'll find out that even though you may have been a queen or you may have been a king back then, but your king and your queenship is out of order in Islam because there is no royalty in Islam.
Right. Right.
You know, some of us don't know that. That's right. But there's no royalty in Islam. So what do you worry about? I believe I was descended from a king. I'm going to share this with you because Imam Muhammad shared it with us. We are in the shape we're in because at one time we were in charge of everything. They used to, the history shows that they used to bring shiploads of gold and silver down the Nile River to the great, what were they called? Pharaoh, the great Pharaoh. Who was? That was us. They ended us so until they shot one of them nose off. Trying to destroy him. So, but that royalty evidently they didn't act like they were supposed to act. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at the bottom today. So Allah says to us in the Quran that He gives the rule to people and people by turns. That's right. And so we at the bottom, but we can come to the top again. But when we do, this time we want to remember our true Islamic identity as opposed to trying to be royal on our way up. The man mentioned this morning, he used the speech that Brother Rasul played this morning. He said we have to remind him, be human to me. Be human to me. That we want to always be human. See, royalty forgets about humanity. And nothing counts but me and my royal family. So forget about that royalty stuff as far as striving to be that and try to be a good person. And good knowledge will make you into a good person. All right, does that help you? So that's what the reason for breaking it down. We get practice in looking, because everything. Yeah, I got some more for you on that, Brother Bilal. Everything in creation, according to the science and according to Allah, is created in atoms. Atoms. You know, they'll taught you that in science class, atoms. And then they say the atoms, they finally broke that down, said the atoms were now, first they said they were in protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Now they know it's even smaller than that. But back when I was in school, you could break. Matter of fact, if you could split and talk about splitting the atom, that was a great feat when they split the atom. All right. But so Allah, I'm letting you know this is not them. So here, let me just read a little bit of what this says. It says when the sky is split open. Now your translation may say when the sky is rent asunder. When the sky is rent asunder. This is how this sort of is talking. It said, and has responded to its Lord as it was obligated to do. See what I'm saying? Knowledge obligates you. When Allah puts the knowledge on you, then or allows you to receive the knowledge, then you're obligated to respond to it. So the sky doesn't have any choice but to do what Allah has put on it to do. As a matter of fact, the angels explain the same things, and we don't know nothing but what you give us. And whatever Allah gives them, they respond to it 100%. I was trying, or something else I want to say on the splitting, but I guess it's kind of slipped me. Maybe it wasn't necessary to say. But you did ask about the significance of it. So that's how we get I know what it is. That's how we get the better understanding. It's kind of like eating your food. It's you're just hucking your food down. Chew your food. It digests better when you chew it up better, right? Knowledge is the same way. So you say, you don't think about this, too, but sometimes somebody say, man, what do you think about what? Well, I don't know, I'm still chewing on it. Right? Not with your teeth, but with your mind, I'm thinking about it. So when we think about things, we break it down, and that's how we get a better understanding. Therefore, this whole process of syllabication, we are not about to try to syllabicate. I did have that notion one time. I started out on it, to syllabicate the whole Quran. But that's not necessary, at least not for the reading of it. And it will be helpful in comprehension. But in reading, we want to know what that process is. In other words, the process of syllabication not only enhances our ability to pronounce the words, but it also enables us to see the smaller bits of knowledge. That's how you are able to identify a little bit more than a syllable when you wind up, most of the time you wind up with not all the time,